or how do you give a platform that makes everybody equal? Not one above the other. And I don't care what your income is. I don't care what your power level is. You're still a human, right? I don't care what your skin color is. I don't care what your background is. You still connect to humanity in some way, and you still connect to the person that's sitting on the corner struggling to a drug addiction and to that millionaire who's sitting over there in the 1%. There's something that will connect that story to that other person.
Listen. All right. The energy here is amazing. Welcome back, guys. This is kind of an intro to an intro. I just wanted to take the time out to say thank you guys who continue to support the podcast. I've been having an amazing time. If you followed me on Instagram at any point, you can see that we're making some changes within the podcast. We finally got a studio. I'm happy to call Locala my official home for the podcast. Essentially, in the future, we will be traveling. The goal is to be on different platforms and kind of do a tour and get you people involved. So one thing I do want to say is that a lot of people have been reaching out regarding coming on to the podcast. Some people feel like they don't have a big enough story that will be able to impact others. And even coming into the podcast that I'm about to share with you guys, she kind of said this same thing. And there's no story too big or too small that can make a difference in someone's life. So essentially, it's not about the individual person. Here at the Deafine podcast, we want to build a community of people that can share the story in a way that can bring value to you, the guests, the viewers, the consumers, the people who listen to podcasts and want to be a part of a great community of just storytelling, capturing moments and putting it in a way where others can understand. The reason why this is so important to me is because you guys know my story. You guys know I became deaf at an early age, and for a long time I struggled with my identity, figuring out where I belong. And it wasn't until the first time I met somebody who actually went through what I went through, who became deaf. But the difference is that person accepted it much earlier than I have, and was able to catapult his life and use his message to pull him in the directions he wanted to, which is now one of my best friends. So that's kind of the reasoning behind the whole podcast, is to share that story, because maybe it'll inspire you or motivate you into that direction you want to go. We kind of want to bridge the gap, and I'm having fun doing it, man. I'm meeting incredible people. And again, if you have followed me on social media, Instagram, at any moment, you'll see that, we're having fun with it. We're meeting a lot of people and we're building. Right now, I'm in grind mode, guys. I'm in grind mode. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm doing something. So I encourage you to do something too. So to me, this is a new season. This is a season of just impacting and helping as many people as I can. So before I share another incredible story, I want to say thank you to everybody who's been a part of this journey. The amount of love and feedback I've been getting is unreal. So I want to say thank you, guys. And if you're new around here, make sure you subscribe. Every week we invite interesting guests and we just share stories from people from different walks and backgrounds and everything that maybe help and inspire you. So thank you, guys. Check it out. So welcome back to the Deafine podcast. Every week we invite interesting guests and we talk about defining moments and what defines them. Today we have an interesting guest. I'm super excited to be in the presence of Lisa Anderson, right? You're the CEO to Lisa Anderson Media. You're the visionary and producer of Locala Magazine, which has a huge impact on Locala. Ocala,
yeah.
Right? Yeah. Everyone I speak to knows your magazine.
That's pretty amazing. I love that. It
is amazing. But you're also an author, right? You wrote a book?
Well, I participated in an anthology.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay. Amazing. So after seeing your social media page, I realized we have something in common. We love stories. We love storytelling. And where did that come from? Where did that, creating this platform, a magazine that's local in Locala, get it? Which is amazing. I love the name. It makes so much sense, I think. And I know it will be a staple here in Ocala, and it's so new to the city, right?
Yeah. We just coming up on the 1 year anniversary. The magazine itself launched in June 2021. So
And the prime and the fire of the pandemic.
yes,
You started this.
Yeah. It's still. I mean, because I had the food magazine first, and when I decided where I wanted my brand to really go, that's when I started creating Locala.
Yeah.
And so I retired the food magazine at the time that Locala launched. So
Right.
because as a one-woman show, you can't do two magazines at
Right.
once. It's
Yeah.
too crazy. But Locala really fit the way I felt as a person more than anything.
Yeah, and it makes so much sense. It's so much culture. You invite amazing people onto your platform to give them a platform where they can share their story.
Yeah.
So, but why stories?
Well, I think we're seeing a high trend of that on all the social media anyway. People want to get to know the person behind the brand. You know, what does the brand stand for? Who are they? And also I wanted to connect people, you know, just to everyday people. We were seeing, especially in the height of the pandemic, we were seeing such strife, and, you know, we continue to see so much strife. And I wanted a way to connect people to understand the very baseline. We're human. You pull on one side of the spider web, the other side moves. We're all connected in some way. And the best way to help people to understand that is to connect them through story. So if they see something in that story, they don't even have to look at the picture or know who that person is. They connect to that piece of the story and understand that, you know what, even though we might have lived completely different lives, there's this part of the story that feels so familiar, and it's me, you know. And I think that story is one of the best ways to do that. And whether you're doing it from a brand perspective or a personal perspective, it all kind of comes together that way.
Right. Now that's called branding, right? You want to build a business. It's the story behind it that sells.
Yes.
And I was in network marketing for a little while, and they always said this term, facts tell, stories sell, right? People don't buy product and services. They buy the person or the thing behind it.
Exactly. What makes them come through the door? You know, obviously we're all going to still walk into a Publix, or we're all still going to do whatever, but you're even seeing things like Amazon or whatever, where people are starting to second guess if they're purchasing from there because of what's being represented behind the brand.
Exactly.
So they're still looking at that personal side. And that's something that when I talk with business owners and stuff, I will tell them, we're not interested in your business. We're interested in why you built your business, you know, and how did you get there? What was your journey that brought you to where you're at? Same questions that you're asking me. You know?
Yeah, exactly. Is it strange? I'm so excited to have you here because we are on the same wave. We are on the same path, right? I do mine through podcasts. You do yours through magazine, which is the same thing. We invite people onto our platform to give them a platform where they can express themselves, but also gain attention and traction into whatever they have going on to their life, right? Yeah. So we're going to come back to that conversation. I want to know about Lisa.
You're unmasking me.
You know about this because you do it.
Yes.
So we want to know about Lisa. Where did you grow up? What is your background? Family?
So I grew up on a 400-acre seed farm in northern Wisconsin, right on the shores of Lake Superior, pretty much. And I was a Barbie doll playing, get lost in the woods, shooting guns, using squirrel tails as Barbie stoles kind of kid. Yeah. Very rural country life, very good life. I had a very supportive, wonderful family. I was a tall kid, so I dealt with a lot of body image issues and stuff like that, and made worse by, you know, kids in school like they do and stuff like that. And so that kind of led me to the road of bad relationships, just from self doubts and very low self-esteem and stuff like that. And that's it took me about close to 20 years to really come to terms with the fact that I had been sexually assaulted with one of my relationships. I knew I was very gaslit and mentally abused during the relationship. I was never in doubt of that, but that's kind of what the anthology, and when I participated in it, I finally told that story, and that was the hardest story to tell, and I still won't let my family ask me about it. I tell them not to read the book because I'm like, you know me, and you're going to ask more questions than I want to answer, and everything that I talked about, that's as far as I'm going in that story.
So thank you for being vulnerable and sharing that story. Like I told you before we started, I'm not here to exploit anybody's, personal beings. But I think there's power in that. One is liberating to be able to share that and take that off your back. Yeah. Two, and I find the most important, and this is why, our platform is so important, is because although we go through these things in life and we don't understand, we grow through them, essentially, right?
Yes.
Had things would have been different, would you be in the position that you're in?
No, absolutely not.
Right.
All of that stuff, not saying that I would ever want to relive it, but all of it made me who I am now and has given me the perspective. And I think the understanding and sympathy, empathy, all of those things that help when you're dealing with other people and to be able to share other people's stories.
Yeah, exactly. So my thing is with a story so powerful like that, right? Yeah. Deep down inside, it may still hurt, right? But you can help someone else.
Yeah.
Someone who's dealing with that right now. Yeah. Someone who is being put in a position that they don't want to be put, and they just want out.
Yeah.
We don't have to talk about your story, but let's give some value to people. And this is so early on into the podcast, but this is what it's about. If we're not giving value, then there's no value in sitting down, right? You understand?
Exactly.
It's about that. What can we do to help other people? What can we do to move the envelope forward to potentially save someone's life?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
maybe not even physical, but mentally.
Yes.
Because that can seep so deep into your mindset.
Oh, so crazy. So crazy.
They can ruin your dreams, the things that you want to acquire in life, family, relationships outside of the personal thing that you may be going through right now.
Yeah.
So what can we tell people that can at least help them move from where they are closer to where they want to be?
Oh, that's a tough question because honestly, it is so individualized, but I think seeking out those stories so that you could connect with somebody or someone's story, whether it's through podcasts, biographies, social media, finding that platform that feels like it's what you're going through. For me, I think the cover started coming off of my eyes a bit on what I was going through when I started witnessing my best friend and listening to her talk and hearing all the trigger words that I would say to cover up what was happening with my friends. And so I recognized all of that, and my heart just shattered for her because I didn't want anybody I knew to be going through that. And so I had to start seeing it through hurting somebody else or hearing their story in order for me to start grasping what was going on in my world. And I think the roles get reversed too when you're dealing with loved ones and people around you, because anybody that would sit me down and point blank tell me and try to get me out of the situation, I would disconnect from and I wouldn't talk to them anymore. And so it was the people that just knew that I had to go through it and were there to support me and still listen to me no matter how many times the story was the same over and over and over again.
They probably watching. That's why you look.
Yeah.
Like.
That were just there for that support that got me through it, because those are still the people that I'm connected to at this point in my life, even hundreds of miles away. Those are the people that still have my heart and everything that we do for each other. So yeah,
I can relate, maybe not to that extent, but as far as the storytelling, I think the reason we create the platforms we did is so other people can have a glimpse of what they're going through in someone else's eyes.
Yes.
Right? So earlier I said that things didn't become real, and I didn't understand what was going on until I seen someone else going through what I was going through.
That's exactly it. You have to have that reflection. One of the things that I'm finally finding some relief on was, for the last 15 years, I've been telling doctors I've had this, all these things happening, and being basically told I'm crazy. Here's an antidepressant, go lose some weight, do whatever. And I've been saying, this is not me, for the last 15 years. And finally, I found somebody on TikTok who went through the same thing, who's going through all of that. And the more I dive in, the more I realize there's all these women that are experiencing the exact same thing. And it makes you feel, even though you don't know who these women are, you've never met with them, there's such a connection and such a relief that you aren't alone. And I think that's the biggest thing about the story sharing, you know, and it's a fine line when it comes to businesses, right? Because we want to seem vulnerable. We need to tell that story. But I remember when it first started becoming popular, I wasn't there yet. Personally, I didn't quite understand the whole storytelling. That's not how I was raised to do business, right? I'm an older millennial. I'm not the younger. And I remember seeing on Instagram and all these people crying in their stories and how hard things were. And I think there's a good portion of that, but when it becomes all consuming and that's what your brand comes, is just you crying, I think there's that fine line that kind of helps keep the brand with the direction that you really want it to go, versus how your personal story can also inhibit. So you have to walk that line when it comes to branding stories. But when it comes to personal stories, oh my gosh, share when you're stepping away from your brand, because other people need to hear that. So if you're struggling, create a separate TikTok for all your personal struggles that you're going through, so that you can build that community of people that understand who you are and still share a little bit of that on your brand, so people know who you are. And if they want more of that, then they can go over to your personal side. Does that make sense?
It makes so much sense. You just basically created a business for somebody. That's what you did. It's so smart. Yeah. Even so, if you look at even at bigger businesses, you look at their stories, and that's kind of the foundation of why they are the way they are, and how massive of an impact they have on the world.
Yeah.
Let's go back to Locala. So you get a lot of people reach out to you wanting to share stories. Is there something in specific that you look for in someone to be able to share your platform to them?
Yeah, I always like it when people kind of give me a little blurb of what they want to talk about. I've started in our newsletter sending out our upcoming themes and what kind of story we're looking for. So that way, if it connects with somebody and they're like, oh, hey, I've had that in my life, they can reach out and tell me who that is. I also get a very big reputation for working with businesses, which I love, but I also love sharing stories of the mailman or your next door neighbor or your best friend, because when you look at, so I kind of ride that middle road, right? And, where I have the business side and the social side. And basically Locala is kind of bringing that together. So we're sharing the personal side of the business owners, helping the community connect and why they should frequent those businesses from the social side. And then we're also helping the businesses by showing them who the community is and who they should be marketing to and how to connect with the people that will come into their store. So it's a two-way social business back and forth, and Locala's just driving down the middle lane trying to put in exits and, entrances all over that highway.
No, absolutely. You're making a mark here in the city. Again, everyone I speak to knows about the magazine that you have. We just need more people to buy.
Yeah.
Right? Don't just hear about it. And I'm big on supporting like small businesses, because I started off small. Yeah. No help, no handouts. I just had a dream and the motivation to go achieve that. And there's often times that I look at other stories, and that's kind of my motivation. That kind of what moves me into the direction that I want to. And I'm a I'm a big believer, man. If you want something, go for it. And it's cliche, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what is the worst thing that can happen when you trying to obtain the things that you want in life? Right? It could cost you your sanity, but it can cost you a whole lot of money in your bank account.
Yeah.
It can cost you relationships, or it can push you to build new relationships, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's an even medium between both. It depends solely on the person. How do you mediate your time and balance in moderation to achieve the things that you want? Are you going crazy building this business by yourself?
Oh gosh, yes.
Likewise, you and I both.
I mean, I was recently reminded that small businesses are a roller coaster, and they really, really are. I had at the beginning of this year, between having some personal stuff happening and a lot of stuff happening in the business, I had a hard time unmasking for people. I wanted to keep that business face on. How are you doing? I'm doing great. But if somebody looked at me and I could tell they were genuinely asking me how I was doing, it was very hard for me not to break down and start crying right there, because it was that downward slope of the business that we all experience as small business owners. You don't get to travel uphill the entire way. There are going to be bumps and roads and
absolutely.
swoops. And so it, I think keeping a network that you're building, that's so important. And finding the people that not only want to do business, but want to uplift you as a person, those are the strongest connections you will ever make. And those are the people that you need to reach out to when you're having those really low times.
Right.
And, some of that story will come out a little bit actually in our June issue, because I had somebody, instead of writing my own publisher letter this time, I brought in somebody that had been in the magazine to write the story, and they came in and interviewed me.
That is amazing.
Reverse the tables.
Does it feel weird, expressing yourself, your story, because for so long you're aiming to create the culture and community around what you have going on? It's important. Right. Yesterday I posted, in the past 2 weeks, I met more people than I met in the past 2 years. And I had the wrong idea or the wrong mindset coming into Locala because of some experiences that I had. And I talked about it here on the platform. But then I gave it a shot, because I'm like, in order for me to build something massive, it has to be about people. It's not about me. It's about what I can do for other people. Yeah.
I think that's the only reason that I'm able to share my story, is because if sharing my story helps build the platform for other people to share their stories, then it's worth it. It's worth being vulnerable. It's worth talking about. It's worth showing that you have the ability to do it. I would be very hypocritical of me to say, unmask, tell me your story, and then I just shut up and never say anything. And my brand wouldn't be authentic.
Exactly. Exactly. I got invited to a couple of platforms to speak in public. I'm afraid shitless. I love to speak. I love to interact. I love to be around a community of people, but when it comes to public speaking, I lose everything. Every single thing in my mind goes blank. I speak fast. I don't breathe. I forget to breathe.
Same.
I have many heart attacks. So how do you control that? Have you been able to figure that out?
The more I do it, the more comfortable I feel.
Repetition.
Yeah, repetition. That's it. That's all it is.
The reason I ask that is because you are creating something massive, and I'm sure that a lot of people are going to be reaching out to speak, right?
Yeah.
And as you grow, then you have to be in position to be able to lead.
Yes, it's true. It's true, which is an odd feeling.
Yeah. Because sometimes we don't ask for that, right?
No.
We just wanted to create something. We're inspired by an idea, and we're motivated enough to go chase that.
Exactly. That's it. And the thought of when I first started creating this part of the brand, it scared me to know that I was going to have to speak up and be the face of my business in order to make it grow. I didn't want to be the face.
You just wanted to be behind the scenes?
I just wanted to be orchestrating everything, the invisible conductor. And but you can't do that when you're the business owner. You have at least in the beginning, eventually the brand grows to a point where people understand and know, and the people that you bring in to help you run the business become the face of the business because their story connects with the brand as well. And so you can kind of take some of that off of your plate. But when you're first building and you're still a one woman, one man show, you are the face, you are the brand, and your story you have to be able to be willing to share and tell and talk about with other people.
Right. So every new level, there's a new devil. You ever heard of that? You ever heard of that?
Yes.
Do you feel like you're in that season or that season's coming that something may happen that you have to break out of your shell in order for you to get to the new level?
Yeah, I imagine that's going to be coming pretty soon.
Yeah, because it's happening, right?
I mean, it's really starting to gain traction. Like you said, when you bring up the name, people know who it is, which is just...
Say Locala.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. I love the name. I love the story behind it.
I can't even take credit for that name. That's all my boyfriend. He used to be listed as the ideas generator in the masthead. Now he's kind of the staff advisor, but
shout out to your boyfriend, man.
Yeah. Well, I'm telling you, that's building your network, your community, because I always tell people I'm not the person that will come up with a new idea, but I can recognize it, and then I can take it and help you build. Build from that,
You're the action. You're the doer.
Yeah, the doer.
Like, I see something, boom, it makes sense. I put two together, and I'm already on it.
Yep, that's why I love graphic design. It's a puzzle. That's why I love publishing. It's a puzzle. Everything that you're doing is working to build and put the pieces all together so that the person's story is coming across the way it's supposed to be. What is the best story? What does our audience want to hear? One of the things that I do with the magazine is I don't want to repeat a theme. So it's very... usual for especially community magazines to repeat themes every month, year to year to year. So for instance, every October is always Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Well, there's about 5-10 other things that happen in October that you could easily do. But
I think it's Deaf Awareness Month on October too.
See,
so
yep. So you can definitely do. It's also, I believe, miscarriage or month as well.
Okay.
Awareness month.
You really pro woman. You pro.
Well, I am one.
No. But that was an asshole question to me.
Sorry.
Yeah. But so you empower other women. You love the feminine, divine side of females.
I do. I love seeing a strong woman. I think it's really important, and I think I love seeing it because I went so many years without being one, and I've also seen the reverse where the women get too strong and put down the other women. So how do you balance that? And how do you, again, it's all of that equality and diversity and everything that my brand stands for. How do you give a platform that makes everybody equal? Not one above the other. I don't care what your income is. I don't care what your power level is. You're still a human, right? I don't care what your skin color is. I don't care what your background is. You still connect to humanity in some way, and you still connect to the person that's sitting on the corner struggling to a drug addiction and to that millionaire who's sitting over there in the 1%. There's something that will connect that story to that other person. And I can't see any other way of looking at humanity. I think I do a lot of what I do to help me understand too on what other people go through, because there's a lot of things in life that I haven't experienced. And when I hear other people's stories, oh my gosh, sometimes, I don't know how you stood up and went on with your day. How are you here sitting and talking to me? And I mean, even your story, what a vulnerable age to lose your hearing. How did, how powerful is that to be able to come back and have a podcast and be sitting here talking with me? It's amazing, and I will never fully understand that, but I can certainly appreciate it, So I mean, that was a long...
Yeah, no, that was amazing. It's so on point. Were you able to identify with just humans in general? And we had that conversation before we hit record. It's like I speak to so many people, different backgrounds, different different, white, black, green, purple. It doesn't matter. We all have the same mission. We want to take care of our family. We want to be happy.
Yeah.
It's just this illusion that people create, and the division between communities and religions. And
Exactly. I heard somebody say, I think it was 40 in the 40s, like 43 or 49, something like that. I heard them say that of religions have the same basic principles and have like the golden rule and all of that kind of stuff. And that's because it's all the same. We want all of the same things. Treat each other with respect, love each other, be there for each other. And I don't, I don't know how to champion any other way than what I do with the brand. And because I'm not the person to go out and hold a sign on a street corner.
Yeah.
And so stories has always been my
yeah. So you can incorporate all of that into everything that you do now.
Everything that I do. And I don't even have to say a word to do it, because other people get to, and that's the most important thing.
Yeah.
Sitting here, being able to share this is amazing, but I don't have to speak to actually let the people be heard.
Yeah.
All they have to do is share their story. And that's what my platform is there for them to share their story.
I'm so glad I met you. This is the power of, I don't know if you believe in manifestation or things like that. When things align, I get to meet people like you, incredible people who are doing amazing things within the community and who see a picture that's much bigger than themselves, right? Although you don't understand, racism and division and equality and all of that, to a sense that someone else who has experienced it would be able to elaborate and share their story. But you're aware.
Yeah.
And that's what makes it important. There's a lot of people in the US that are not aware of what's going on because they're blinded by the media, by everything that's placed in front of them.
Yeah.
So listen, I appreciate that. So what else do you have going on besides Locala?
Well, I have another platform that I'm doing right now for
How the hell are you doing both? Listen, one podcast for me takes me about a week to do everything. I can imagine writing, pictures, editing. What is that?
I do try to have as much balance as I can, but that, again, like I said, you do feel crazy sometimes going through it. I had at one point really wanted to add book publishing, and I am still going to complete this anthology, but book publishing won't be. I find that I really enjoy the magazines, and that's what I'm good at. And so in business, as you learn and you grow, you have to understand what are your strengths and what are your weaknesses. And my strength is magazine work, and I can bring that to other communities and make that bigger than just here. But I started in an anthology, and I believe we have about 18 or 19 women total that are participating, and they're sharing their stories. And the anthology is called Shameless, and we should be going to print end of June, beginning of July. Some of the stories are just unbelievable. We have everything from women who have been gaslit or body shamed to women who have survived being trafficked, and some very, very powerful stories that I think definitely need to be told. And all of these women have come out on the other side to be strong leaders in their own right and to be able to tell their stories of what they went through. And so it's very important, I think, to continue to get those stories out there. There's other books like that, but I think every story is important to help build that awareness of what happens to women. Again, that comes back to that champion, for women. But, I definitely connect deeper with women for that reason, but yeah, that project is more of a personal,
sentimental. That's value in a way that it's not like a magazine. You put somebody else on that pedestal. This is you put in your footprint on it.
Yeah.
That has meaning and value to you.
These stories need to be told,
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's why we create these platforms. And I think even besides, us sitting down here, we'll be able to do something for the community because we're both alike. I think we both kind of have the same mission.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. In the age of media, how has the physical copy of magazines work?
Oh, goodness. I actually started off all digital.
Okay.
And I had a print on demand, and everybody kept coming and asking me for the print version, which just kind of blew my mind. And I don't know if that would be in any other city but Ocala, but maybe it will. I don't know. But I went to print a lot sooner than I ever planned. And it's still quite small, but we talked about 1 million cups before, and I met the new owner of First Impressions Printing at 1 million cups, Josh Dennison. And he saw value in what I was trying to do as well. And he made it possible for me to be able to go to print even at a smaller quantity, because if you're familiar with the print world at all, in order to get a price point, you have to do large volume, right? So he made it possible for me to be able to print 150, 200 magazines that literally disappear in the first week at the library. That's where most of them are. I can't keep them stocked there. They're gone. So if if you don't have a subscription to your door and you can't make it to the library in the first couple of days, you're not going to get a print copy, and but that really surprised me a lot. But I also originally planned to target Gen Z a little bit more. But because I'm doing most of the writing, I think our target market now has become just naturally between 35 and 44. That's our highest readership. Women, and probably, again, that's just my voice coming through. But when I sat down and talked to my stepsister, who is a Gen Z, she made me laugh because she says, well, we love to cut things out and paste them to the wall. I'm like, they still do that? Like, that's how I grew up.
Yeah.
And she says, oh, yeah, I cut out the word Tallahassee out of the newspaper and it's on my wall.
Wow. Have you considered, that sounds like a good idea for social media content to be able to, I don't know, implicate or put your business. Do you have a TikTok for Locala?
I do. I have to.
Do you only put, I see you only put pages of.
Yeah, that my TikTok, I have to admit, is sorely neglected for Locala Mag. But I do stuff on there once in a while. I'm getting a little bit better at TikTok. I've started kind of talking a little bit more on the personal side and my own personal journey on my Lisa Anderson Media TikTok. So I'm getting a little bit more comfortable for that. But I think for me to keep up with the Locala Mag, I think that would be one that I need a social media manager on.
Yeah, is that something you're considering?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, we can have a conversation after this, somewhere I can help without any strings attached, from the heart. This is what I want to do with everybody. I'm an advocate for social media here in Ocala. Everyone I speak to is like, Instagram, no, Facebook, maybe, TikTok. Yeah. What is that?
I know it's a growing. I mean, it's so big, and I just heard that they're expanding the video length to 10 minutes now. Yeah, and making it more accessible for artists and all.
Monetize,
that kind of
so you can monetize. Yeah. You can like a YouTube type stuff. So get certain amount of engagement, views, likes, and all this stuff. You could get sponsorships. You can get endorsements. You can get all types of money.
Yep.
Yeah, even what you have going on, you can do a YouTube channel. You have one?
Not for Locala. No. I know.
We're going to have a long talk right after this long talk.
I have Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, LinkedIn.
Where do you get the most traction?
Instagram and Facebook. Yeah, Instagram is probably the biggest traction.
Really?
Yeah.
In Ocala, I haven't been able to get that much traction.
No?
No. Even with my other business, it's mainly Facebook.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm sure maybe you can help me with that sense. Where the people
I don't even know why. I no, honestly, it's just all I hashtag like a mad fool, and then
yeah, you have a great personality. You're very charismatic. you don't, I don't see you recording and like doing personal videos of maybe the expansion of the brand. Have you considered that?
I have, but I'll tell you, that's where the stress comes in, because every time, like, I literally have to not answer emails, phone calls, all that part of my business to sit down and write. And so every little aspect of my business and getting pulled in every direction. I don't even go into the office on writing days. Actually, I just sit at home with a laptop. And even that's kind of difficult because that's still connected. And all of a sudden I find I've just spent an hour answering emails and, you know, and all that kind of stuff. And so, yeah, I mean, there's growing pains. There's
we're in the same exact position.
Yeah, you have to, like, you have to grow at a rate that you're able to grow and do all the things that you need to do, but at the same time you can't let it stifle you, right? So you have to have that balance in between. Like, there's, you know, we talked earlier, do you have a podcast? Nope, definitely on my list of things I want to do, you know? And in fact, I would love to be able to exchange the writing bit to being able just to sit down, because my favorite part of the writing bit is the interviews. So I would love to just sit down and be able to continue that conversation, invite people back, that have been in the magazine. How you doing? What you doing now? You know, how's your story come so far? And be able to continue to communicate with the community on that level. Yeah,
that is amazing. Where do you see Locala going, and maybe the next year, 2 years?
Well, I would definitely love to see Locala grow big enough where it's self-sustaining, where I am just the puzzle maker, you know, and having it run. And then, you know, one of my main goals is to start a version of Locala in Gainesville by the end of 2023. So, you know, but
big goals, big dreams,
big goals, big dreams. It's just, I want to have a business that doesn't need me to be there to run it. Like, it needs to have its own legs to stand. That's the main goal, so that I can continue to build the business around that core. And because there's so many stories that have to be told. You can't just stop at one city. I don't think it can.
Is it difficult picking like that one story that you really want to put onto the platform? But I'm assuming you get hundreds of emails where, like,
I don't really, not yet. No, I know it's crazy. No, but my network brings me a lot of stories. So then I reach out and find stories that way. But I would love people to send me more emails and do all that. And sign up for the newsletter so they know what type of story we're looking for. You know, I think my hardest thing is the stories are so big and there's only so much room on a page. So whereas a podcast, we can talk, and we can talk for an hour, we can talk for 2 hours. You know, it's not like a news station where you have to have a cutoff time, but on the page, there's only so many words that you can put on there. Yeah. And I think the hardest issue that I ever had to write was the one that's coming out in May, and that was about veterans. And I had the privilege of being a civilian and having these veterans tell me parts of stories that they don't ordinarily tell civilians, which was very, very difficult emotionally to write, to listen to, all the things that went in. But I only get 900 words. And these stories are so much bigger than 900 words, you know?
That's a lot of brain cells you're burning. Right? Another question I wanted to ask is, you get all these stories, and someone who's has like, are you empathetic, and you take all those emotions in? How do you process that, right? Because we're human, right? We still feel. Do you take that on as baggage? Does it make you feel some way when you hear someone that has a really bad story, and you're like, oh man, and you go home, you start thinking about it?
You do, but at the same time, I learned as a massage therapist. So when you're a massage therapist, you tend to take on people's energy. You're working in their space, you're working on their pain, you're doing, you're here. Sometimes they talk to you and you're hearing their stories and all the things that they're going through. And so I leaned very Western heavy as opposed to Eastern medicine. But one of the things that I did glean from the Eastern side is separating yourself from that energy. And so I used to always say, what's mine is mine, what's yours is yours, I give you yours, I take mine back. To do that separation, it was kind of my little end breaking prayer that I would do. I would hold their feet while I did it, say it to myself. And so I kind of do that with the stories naturally as well. Not so intentional, but it's a little bit, it's kind of built in now to be able to separate that, because if I took on everything, I wouldn't be able to do what I do.
Exactly.
You know, I hear stories of, things that happen to people in their childhood. Like reading these stories from these
some
women,
stories you're like, nah, we can't. That's too far.
There's not too much that I say no on, but yes, there are some things that I do, because I also have to respect the businesses that are in the magazine. And so, for instance, we had somebody bring a story to me of a person who was in a relationship where it would have been basically pedophilia, and they wound up marrying the person. I was like, that's a little, I don't think my business owners would appreciate being advertised next to that, because it was that was a sketchy, like it's still their story, but we do have to say some things. And I'm also very much if religion is part of your story, if politics are part of your story, yes, it'll be included, but we are not the platform for you to convert anybody to anything. Yeah. Right. So if you're, for instance, I had Manal Fakori on the cover, and she was in the story. And while she was running, the story mentioned that if she was elected, she would have been the first female mayor of Ocala. But it was not her platform to tell people. It was her platform to tell people who she was as a person. And Parrish Tanner, who's running for the school board, is going to be in the May issue as well. Same thing, that same story that I gave him. I'm like, I'm happy to mention that that's what you're doing, because that's part of your story, but you're not here to convince anybody to vote for you. That's not why you're here. And I also think, like, if becoming a Christian or Muslim or whatever is part of your journey, telling it, but it's not the place to say and
why you should
also follow me on this journey.
I'm kind of the same way. I stay away from politics.
Yeah.
I don't like mediocre at all.
No.
At all. I like things that are valuable. Like we started off the podcast with that value. I'm like, yes, we can get that. Because that's what's important. Everything else is just fluff, man. I say this all the time. There's A, Z, everything in the middle is just shit.
Yep, exactly. That's why I want to have a piece called Not a Fluff Piece, because it's not about all the fluffy stuff around your business. It's about who you are as a person.
Yeah.
And bringing that together. But get rid of all of that's where I draw the line. Like I mean, there's definitely, as a publisher, you definitely have to do a tap dance sometimes. What parts of the story can we share? What's the important message to share? How far can we stretch things? I will put in swear words in my magazine, which is not the norm. If it's part of the person's speech and it makes sense, of who they are, if it makes,
I said a couple here.
I mean, I swear.
Because I want to be my authentic self, right?
Yes.
Yeah. When I first moved over here, I felt that I have to fit into this division that I've never been in, and I don't want to show that. Yes, no. I am a human, and I still mess up a lot. I try to be the best. I believe in integrity, morals, and good character.
Yes.
Right. But sometimes we fall short.
Oh, yes,
right?
Absolutely.
But as long as that's not your intention, and that's basically what you're saying, is like, as long as you don't have that intention, everybody has a story that they can share.
Yeah.
But it's interesting is because if you look at like blogs and stuff like that, most of it's mediocre, it's drama, it's all these things where you can gain and garner people's attention, and that's how people get paid.
Yeah.
You went the other route. And we're basically on the same page. I could have created a podcast talking about sex, politics, and all this bullcrap, right? Mm-hmm. It doesn't interest me, one, but would have that catapult to another level at this point and been much bigger if I had went that direction?
Yeah.
Probably. But would that be an extension of who I really am?
No, and does the world really need another one of those?
Exactly. I love the way you think. So we're gonna kind of end this with this. How can we help someone who's struggling within their mindset right now? Who's stuck in their ways, who wants to get out of a situation that they just found themselves in?
Oh, I think I'm the wrong person to genuinely answer that, because I think there's people that are way more qualified to, how to get out of that mindset. I don't even know how I did it for myself, to be perfect.
But you did it.
But I did it. And so I think the possibility, knowing there's a possibility that you can do it too, I think that's the biggest thing, and if you're on the other side of somebody who's going through that, just be there. Just, don't try to talk them out of it. Don't tell them what they're doing is wrong, because they will run away from you so fast. But if you're just there to support them and hug them and listen to the same story over and over again, pretty soon they're going to start finding their way out.
Oftentimes, I invited some people on, and some people feel like they're not qualified, like their story is not big enough. I think there's no story big or small that can have a minimum amount of impact. It's not what you go through, is how you go through it.
Yeah.
There can be the response that you can have where other people can use that as a roadmap to lead to where they're trying to go. I'm big on that. I'm big on leaving a footprint and bringing people on that have experiences like you. They can translate to someone who may be listening and can understand that they're not alone.
Yeah.
And there is another level. There is another place of existence where you can find yourself in a place of happiness.
Yeah.
Joy, comfort, and whatever that may mean to the person watching. So where can people find you, Lisa?
Well, they can find the magazine on all those social networks I mentioned before.
Okay.
At Locala Mag. And our website is localamag.com. And if they want to follow me, I am probably on a personal level most active on TikTok at Lisa Anderson Media.
Okay. Yeah. Amazing. Yeah. Is there any last words you want to share? Did something that we miss, or?
I don't think so. I
No?
think we caught everything.
I had a great time. I'm super inspired by your story and by some of the things that you went to, and you still having a great mindset to move forward and give people the baton so they can take and share their story to have impact, and not only in the community but in the world. I believe what you're doing is going to have a huge impact beyond Ocala. So keep doing what you're doing, and the Fine Podcast, you have our full support on anything that you have going on, and pretty soon we're going to have magazines here to be able to share with the community that comes into this building.
I appreciate that. Thank
you so much. I appreciate you guys. Thank you for watching. If this is your first time here, make sure you subscribe, and see you next week. We out of here. Peace.